When we were discussing about the synthetic theory of evolution, we saw that the theory, that neo-Darwinism, or what is known as the synthetic theory of evolution, uh, it is based on, or it says that evolution is based on certain processes. The first one cited was mutation and hereditary variations resulted. Then second one was natural selection. Okay, so here we will be discussing about the natural selection. Uh, Natural selection is actually the force exerted by the nature on the population, isn't it? And this natural selection always favors only the favorable characters, or individuals with favorable characters that suit or that help the individuals to adapt to the surrounding environment. All other individuals with unfavorable characters will be removed or will be eliminated from the population. This is what happens. So, according to Darwin, there is a tendency for a species to produce maximum number of individuals than the environment can support, and this is what you call when we refer in ecology as biotic potential, right? But obviously, the environment has a carrying capacity, right? As per the biotic potential, the individuals may reproduce. It may give maximum number of individuals. Even the environment may not be able to support that. This results increasing population will result in competition among the individuals of the species, that is intraspecific competition for same kind of resources. And in this struggle for existence, individuals with favorable variations are selected by nature for survival. Okay, and these favorable variations help them to adapt to a particular environment. Okay, that is why they are getting selected. Okay, um, individuals with unfavorable variations are usually eliminated, or it is referred as weeded out. Okay, so the population is kept in check by a process of differential mortality. What is differential mortality? Mortality means death, obviously, isn't it? So, what kind of individuals are getting dead? It's not random. It is not uniform in all the variations. But those individual, if a population is taken, there could be different variations, isn't it? Of the same trait, there could be different variations. I hope you are getting what is the variation. Okay. So here, what happens is a population with different variations, only certain kind of variations are individuals with certain kinds of variations are selected. Okay, the others are actually removed, and here the removal of individuals means it is a death, isn't it? So, differential mortality here, it is not uniform. It is actually mortality is more of the individuals with unfavorable variations. Okay, unfavorable characters. So this operates, that is differential mortality operates continuously in nature to remove the uh, unfit from the fit. Okay, so thus differential mortality favors the perpetuation or continuation of beneficial characters and the elimination of unfavorable genes from the population. And this is actually what is the essence of natural selection. Hence, natural selection is more concerned with the perpetuation or elimination of certain genes than with the survival or death of the individuals. So, natural selection is not favoring any particular individual, but it is actually favoring certain characters, certain variations of a character. Okay, and these variations must be in such a way that it can help the individuals to adapt to the surrounding environment. Okay, all other what you call variations of the particular character, such kind of individuals are removed from the uh, that kind of environment. Okay. Now, what are the different types of natural selection? There are three different types of selection: stabilizing selection, directional selection, and disruptive selection. Okay. The stabilizing selection is otherwise referred as normalizing selection. Okay. Stabilizing selection occurs when a population is exposed to basically a constant environment. So there is no change going on in the environment. Okay, in such a condition, we can say natural selection is of stabilizing selection type. Okay, so in an unchanging environment, mutations are of not much use, because usually mutations and variations happen to suit the particular individual, uh, adapt to the surrounding environment, isn't it? To the adapt to the changing environment. But if there is no change going on in the environment, variations needn't happen, isn't it? So it is of no much use. Okay. As a result of genetically constant population, as a result of this, what you call constant environment or unchanging environment, a genetically constant population is maintained, and evolutionary change is thus prevented, or it is almost arrested. And this kind of selection is known as stabilizing or normalizing selection. Okay, as it maintains the genetic constancy by favoring average and normal individuals of a population and eliminating the extreme variance or specialized individuals, as we will see with a graph. Okay, here there is an example on robins. Robins are birds. Okay, these robins, they lay usually, uh, the very normal condition is laying four eggs in a clutch. In a clutch means a single group. Okay, so single set we can say. Okay, in a single set, typical or most normal condition is having a four eggs in a clutch. Okay, and but it doesn't mean that all the robins lay four eggs in a clutch, but it can be larger than that, or even smaller clutches are also laid. Okay, but we can see that nature always favors the normal sized four egged clutch. Okay, why so? Because larger clutches means the eggs, it result in malnourished chicks. Okay, just imagine instead of four there are 10 eggs and all these eggs get hatched out. What happens is there will be competition for resources. Okay, so there will be the chicks developed will be malnourished. Okay, not healthy. Smaller clutch, what happens? Just imagine there is only one egg in the clutch. What happened? So this particular egg, a single egg hatches out, but it may have to survive different kinds of stresses and factors from the nature, and it cannot be guaranteed that that particular individual will reach the reproductive phase to give rise to the next generation, isn't it? So again, that is also unfavorable. The This extreme is also unfavorable. Okay, but obviously this kind of the medium average, okay, that is four egged clutch, that is mean or that is average sized, and that is more favorable for the robin population. Okay, so nature selects this kind of a character, that is four egged clutches being selected. Okay, while the extremes are eliminated. I hope it is clear. Okay, this kind of a selection where the mean is selected and the extremes are eliminated is known as stabilizing selection. Clear? Okay, so so here what happens, the genetic constancy is maintained by favoring average or normal individuals of a population, and eliminating the extreme variance from the population. Okay, and a well-known example of this selection is provided by the work conducted by American biologist H.C. Bumpus on sparrows. In 1899, Bumpus measured the size of those individuals of a flock of sparrows which were killed in a severe storm. Okay, so what he did is he like collected all those dead sparrows, and then he measured the size, especially measured the wings and the mean and all. Okay, size and the proportion of the individuals, right? And he found that the measurements of the surviving birds were close to the mean, the average, while an unexpectedly higher proportion of dead birds were found with abnormally long and short wings relative to the average. So what he did is what he observed is that Bumpus observed that all those dead birds collected had wings which were shorter or which were longer than the average size wings. So more number of individuals with sparrows which survived the severe storm had what you call normal or an average length of the wings, right? While all the dead ones collected had shorter than the average or longer than the average wing. Okay, so the average or mean, yeah, average or mean like represents the type which is best adapted to the environment, and differential mortality favors this ideal type, that is the average type, and is based and is actually what you call biased against the extremes. Okay, so they usually remove the extremes and only favors the ideal type or the average type. Okay, and Bumpus thus concluded that the sparrows were killed in the storm due to their weight and length which extremely deviated from the mean. Now, stabilizing selection operates rarely as the environment is often changing. So we may not be able to find a typical example for stabilizing selection um, in environment, because environment always keeps on changing. Okay, so obviously there will be changes in the genotype as well. So we cannot have a normalizing selection in the nature. Okay, rarely we can find a typical example. Next one is a progressive selection or directional selection. Uh, we have already mentioned that stabilizing selection occurs when the environment remains constant. There is no change; it is unchanging, isn't it? Directional selection happens if the environment suddenly changes. Okay, so the result will be a shift of a population in one direction with respect to certain adaptive characters. Okay, in the individuals, these characters develop adaptations. I mean, the individuals develop adaptations to the environmental change, and thus the individuals will survive and produce more offspring than the deviant, what you call variants in the opposite direction. So here we can see one example. Okay, so this is a light colored, yeah, typical example of industrial melanism, which we discussed in one of the previous presentations. We have the light colored pepper moth, Biston betuleri, and the melanic forms or darker colored, what do you call them? This one, the peppered moth. Okay, here what happened is, obviously there is a directional selection. Okay, so I hope you remember the lighter colored peppered moth were better camouflaged against pristine environment, that is where the environment was unpolluted. Okay, so this in unpolluted environment the tree trunks were covered with lichens, and lichens gave a lighter shade to the tree trunks, and obviously the light colored peppered moth were better adapted or camouflaged to that surroundings, while dark colored pepper moth or the melanic form were better camouflaged against a sooty environment, or what you call soot deposited tree trunks in industrialized areas. Okay, thus industrial revolution progressed in 19th century England, and the color of the moth population shifted from light to dark. Okay, and that is kind of a directional selection. Okay, so the directional selection result, I mean, usually results in a genetically changed population. Okay, and this is what happened during the selection. Maybe like there can be plenty of examples. One is obviously the industrial melanism, and selection of this type leads to a particular direction, thus favoring the emergence of new forms or specialized individuals, and eliminating even the what you call normal individuals. Okay, so there are only two extremes over here, isn't it? Normal individuals are not there, and these two extremes are adapted to certain kind of environments. Right. So hence it is known as directional selection or progressive selection. Okay. Once the new forms are established, it is maintained over succeeding generations by the stabilizing selection. Okay, so in summary, stabilizing selection perpetuates constancy as long as the environment remains stable without undergoing any change. But directional selection promotes the emergence of new forms whenever there is a change in the environment. Okay, now the third selection is disruptive selection. Disruptive selection results